Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining SP Lagos section in today's webinar titled Getting Ahead in 2021 and Beyond. It will be a webinar that will provide us with the right tools and principles to help us succeed both within and without in our personal lives. So before we progress, just a few safety tips to help us. We know that the pandemic is still on and we have protocols in place to manage it. So let us remember to wash our hands frequently. Let us also use an alcohol-based sanitizers. Let's ensure that we utilize a face mask whenever in public and that we also practice social distancing. Let's try to avoid large gatherings. And for here in Nigeria, if you feel any COVID-19 symptoms, remember you need to self-isolate and then you can call NCDC on the toll-free line which is showing on the screen. I'll now welcome our section chair, Michael Oyere, to give us his welcome remarks. Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much, Princess. And I would say Happy New Year once again to members all connected. I'd like to welcome all our esteemed members, as well as non-members who are connected to the webinar today. I really do think today's webinar has an extremely fascinating topic. I mean, considering how the year has kicked off with some measure of doom and gloom, there's definitely a need for us to get inspired and charged up today. And when we think about it, who better to set us on this path of getting ahead in this year 2021 and beyond than our very own section director, Engineer Temitope Oshuntuyi. I'm sure a lot of us know him well, particularly for his selfless passion for SPE and a number of other endeavors. And I think we're very privileged to have him share his time with us today. And I urge all of us to endeavor to pay close attention so as to benefit extensively from today's webinar session. Thank you all once again for connecting and a very warm welcome. Thanks, Princess. Back to you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Michael. So just standing on all the existing protocols which have introduced our facilitator on. So I'll just read out Temitope's bio. So Temitope is a senior reservoir engineer with ExxonMobil. He's a certified coach, trainer, and speaker. He has served with SP International at the local, regional, and international levels. He's a recipient of the SP International 2019 Regional Public Service Award, Africa Region. He has also served for 9 consecutive years from 2013 to 2019 on SP Lagos Section Board, holding several positions including the section chair in 2017 to 2018 and section director in 2018 to 2019. So it's my utmost privilege to welcome Temitope Oshuntuyi to take us further on the webinar Getting Ahead in 2021 and Beyond. Sir Temitope, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Princess, for the introduction, and I really appreciate. And once again, I'll welcome everybody to today's training, and it's really an honor, just as Princess mentioned, to be here. So, wherever you are dialing from, welcome. For some of you, this is not your first time with me, but I can tell you it's going to be one of the best so far. As today we explore the topic, getting ahead in 2021 and beyond, and it's going to be more like a teaching with some element of coaching. We all know that 2020 has been more like a semi-horror movie style year for so many people, but as we are now in 2021, my prayer and hope for everyone listening is that this is going to be your best year so far, and you will get ahead no matter what the year comes with. And at the same time, I also hope that we will do our part to get ready to make the best of 2021, not just by listening to this training, but also by following the actionable steps that will be outlined in this teaching. Just like actor Leonardo DiCaprio said, he said, every next level of your life will demand a new version of you. So you want to get ahead in 2021, you need to be ready and step up to work on yourself. By the way, it's good to let you know that this topic came up as a result of popular demand based on what we did in the past, in the beginning of last year, 2020, precisely February 1 at Eco Hotels and Suites. We had a session on becoming the best version of you, and we've seen that it helped a lot of us start the year very well last year. So the more reason why we want to, emulate that this year. We've had lots of testimonies during the year from professionals, and entrepreneurs on how they really benefited from it. And for me, really, it's not surprising because it's a formula that I apply to my own self, and it's really proving. So when people ask me how I do things, especially in my professional life as an engineer, or volunteering for SPE, or starting and building Mathematics for Life Foundation rapidly over the course of the years, I always tell them that there is a known process and there is a proven process I follow. And I advise people on how to develop themselves and lead their organization using this process. And I tell you that the true test of leadership and personal development is actually leading people that you don't pay salary, leading people that you don't determine their paychecks. Because you can do this for a non-profit, I bet you can do it practically anywhere. I would have loved that this is a face-to-face meeting so that we can, do some scribbling and be able to gist better. But notwithstanding, we'll make do with what we have for the next 50 minutes. This should take us to probably about the 12 noon mark, and we'll be able to get questions for like 30 minutes or thereabout after the training. But before we look at getting ahead in 2021 and beyond, why don't you first look at the things in our life that has debarred us from getting ahead over the years? From my years of study and experience, I have come across about 30 major causes of setback or failure in people's life. And truly, no one is exempted. Not me, not even the best of us. In fact, the best of us just have a proper way of managing these monsters. And broadly, I categorize these two causes of failure into two. And the earlier you know these two broad categories in your life, the better. The two broad categories I have for this are: one is problem, the other is predicament. And it's good to know the difference between these two. I remember growing up in secondary school days, and sometimes I had to, walk to school, perhaps on empty stomach, and getting to school, you have to, attend classes, play, and the rest. At that point in time, I knew I had a problem. And I could either, use this excuse of no food and perform woefully in school, or use that anger of lack of basic needs and amenities to become better in school, which I did. On the other hand, I had two friends back then in secondary school that had a predicament. Both of them had sickle cell, what we popularly call SS. And they will miss classes most of the times, and that's because they can't help the situation. They can't help their situation. And unfortunately, we actually lost both of them about the same time in SS2. What am I trying to say is this: you need to know the difference between what is your problem and what is your predicament. And in both situations, you have the choice to actually choose and maintain good attitude. You can, whether you're in a problem or you have a predicament, you have a choice to maintain a good attitude and be grateful, whatever your situation is. But while one has a solution, the other one, you have to just live with it. So in your life, from your past up to now, which of these things do you think has stopped you from getting ahead? I'm going to make a list of them. I won't be able to get into details in this nutrition, but just look at yourself, check yourself. Which of these lists do you think has stopped you from getting ahead in the past up to now? For some people, it's unfavorable hereditary background. And I think that's more or less the only cause of failure that I know that is not easily corrected by any individual. A list of other factors might include lack of well-defined purpose, when we don't have a defined purpose for our life, lack of ambition to aim above the ordinary, when we just believe that ordinary is fine, just wake up, nothing much, and go to bed every day without any defined ambition. Another one is insufficient education, when you don't have the proper level of education for your dreams or for what you intend to do or achieve in life. That can also be part of the setback for people. Lack of discipline, when you lack self-discipline. Ill health is another one. Unfavorable environment, especially when we are still in childhood. Procrastination is one. In fact, for me, that's one of my own setback. Lack of persistence, negative personality, and I'm sure we see a lot of that, especially in this part of the world. People going about grumbling with negative attitude and personality. Lack of controlled sexual urge, uncontrolled desire for something for nothing. By that I mean gambling. That's also part of it. Fear of criticism, when we fear that if we are criticized, we might not be, because of that, we won't go ahead. That's also part of causes of our failure. Wrong selection of partners in marriage or businesses. I'm sure a lot of us will understand that. We've seen it happen around us. Over caution, well, we believe that we need to be cautious at every step and everything we do. Superstition is also one of them. Wrong selection of a vocation. Some people are quite good, but they've chosen the wrong course or the wrong vocation while they were younger, and they still stick to it and doesn't have the ability or the conviction to change. Lack of concentration of effort, habit of indiscriminate spending. You have a little money and you are spending it totally before you know it. Lack of enthusiasm, intolerance, overindulgence in almost anything, whether good or bad, inability to cooperate with others, possession of power or wealth not acquired. You know, I tell people that at times possessing power, acquiring power or being bestowed power or wealth has its own positive and negative side. And I've seen it a lot in people. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's quite negative. So when you have possession of power or wealth not acquired through self-effort, it can also be detrimental, but not always. Intentional dishonesty is another one. Egotism, guessing instead of thinking, right? Turning everything in our life into a guess game instead of actually thinking through it. And lastly, but not the least, lack of capital. I know a lot of us, we attribute our failures to lack of capital, but for me, that is even more or less the least on the list, because I have a saying that if lack of capital is the number one major problem of people, then banks should not fold up anywhere in the world. But I can tell you, not only in Nigeria, in other parts of the world, in UK and even in Europe, American, we've seen banks fold off. We've seen financial institutions fold off. That is not just the reason for not succeeding in life. There are lots of other things I've mentioned. So the first exercise I'll give you today is to look at this list of major causes of failure that I just mentioned, and look for someone who knows you well to go over them with you and help you deduce which of this is your problem. Just as Polonius said in Hamlet, he said, "To thy own self be true. You should know your weakness so that you can either breed them or eliminate them altogether." So enough of the negative said. We've talked about the negative things that doesn't allow us to get ahead, but how do we actually get ahead this year and beyond? For me today, to start with, I would like to introduce you to some of the core beliefs that has helped me over the years, and I know it will help you too. And I have several of them, but I'll be going to share just 3. Part of this training is based on the big book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've done this with several people and several organizations and individuals over the years. And I'm actually doing one currently for my own teaching monthly program also. Some of you might be opportune to have them joined that earlier before now. So I'm just going to give you a brief summary of it over the next 40 minutes, right? But I'm not just basing it on the book. It's also based on my experience talking to people, coaching people, and also reading and mentoring from other thought leaders. So let's go. If you are going to get ahead in life, I believe these principles are basic things that you have to understand. And these are things you have to know and be in agreement with. So here's the first. The first is that you have to know that there is a power, that there is one power and one presence. And in my study in my own life, I have come to define this one power as the one source to be God, G-O-D, the grand overall designer, the author and finisher of our faith. And I think there are lots of programs out there on human potentials, and lots of programs on setting goals, and lots of programs on overcoming our limiting beliefs. And I think if there are any of them that leave out this spiritual component, they are actually incomplete, in my own opinion. If you claim to be an atheist, I think deep down within you, you believe that there is a force that is present before you were born, present when you are existing, and will still be present when you are no more. And for me, that divine source, that presence is God. And in fact, the second knowing is that this power, this source, God, operates by law. Now, I'm sure some of you might have heard me refer to those laws as universal laws, but don't let that trip you up at all. These are just God's laws, and the universe obeys it. These are absolute laws of creation. And these laws operate in, with, and through all things. And that includes you and me and the universe around us. And it's this understanding and the application of these laws that help us live in harmony with the creative process. And it's not just luck and chance. We all know that the sun will always rise in the east and set in the west. For every action we take, we all know there is an equal and opposite reaction. One of my favorites is we all know that energy is never lost, but transmutes. There are 7 laws that govern the way you think, you behave, and they are manifest in your life that God creates and has ordained for the creative process. And these 7 laws are universal law of mentalism, universal law of vibration, universal law of correspondence, polarity, rhythm, gender and effect. But I won't be able to go into these details today, but probably sometimes we might have the opportunity of going over them. They are quite interesting. The next and the third law I'll be looking at here is that there is a truth. And you need to know the truth of your life. There is a truth within you that is greater than the fact of your conditions and circumstances. I don't know what you are facing right now. The fact is that your condition might be terrible right now. You might be in poverty right now. You might need a job right now. You might need the training to get the next job right now. You might be indebted right now. You might want to leave the country right now. You're meant to do a lot of this right now, or don't even know what to do in your life. All these are facts of your life, but they are not the truth. You see, truth is a universally agreed, generally accepted outcome that does not need to be proven. You don't have $1 million in your account right now. Of course, it's a fact of your life, and that is personal to you, and you can prove it, perhaps with your empty bank account. But the truth is, there are people out there with $1 million in their account, even if you don't know any personally. You know that is a truth, and I don't need to prove it to you, that there are people out there with $1 million in their account. So what am I trying to say is that you need to know the difference between facts and truth. The facts of your life are true to you and only you. So they govern your own circumstances. They limit your beliefs. So the facts of your life are true, but it's not universally true. So all facts are actually true, but not all truths are facts. You are poor today is a fact, and it's true because you can prove it. But it's also absolutely true that the world has enough abundance in it that you can get from. So fact is internal, it limits your belief, it limits what you can think, but truth is universal, it's always around you and out there. So if you are going to get the most out of this training today, there is a part of your thinking that must be an idea that there is a truth within you that is greater than the facts and circumstances of your life. So I think it's very natural for all of us to be here today on this training, on this teaching. And I think it's very natural that we seek wisdom of how we can transform our lives, how we can create transformation in our lives. But it's also natural, not normal, Because for me, what I see as normal today, sadly, is that for people sitting in front of a TV screen, watching the best of the worst shows, or kind of purposely surfing the net, opening from one channel or from one social media to the other, finding something that can entertain the mind, and under 10 seconds before they click to the next mindless interruption in their awareness. We go on social media from Instagram to Facebook to WhatsApp to TikTok. Seconds becomes hours each day. Day becomes a week. Before you know, week in, week out, months is gone by. The next thing we hear is Happy New Year, and we press repeat and play again. So this transformation we are talking about today requires that we think differently. See, your world, the life you want to create, or the life you have created before now, has been formed by a pattern of your thinking. Up to this point, whatever life we have created for ourselves has been as a result of a pattern of thinking. And the renewing of our mind occurs through a creative process of establishing a new pattern of thinking that is not normal. So that is to say, not of our current conditions and our circumstances. So we need to be looking at different belief that is not of our current knowing, that is not of our current beliefs. That is the only way we can move ahead. We cannot be doing the same old thing we have been doing in our life in the past and be expecting a different result. Right? It's only a fool that does that. We can't be thinking the same way we have been thinking, the same mode of operation up to now, and believing that our result will change. Right? There is a quote that says, for every new step you want to attain in your life, it demands a newer and better version of you. So your answers to the question of how you go from here to there will never ever be found in your conditions and circumstances as they are right now. The answer to how you go from here to there is not part of your current knowing. In fact, it is not part of your current belief right now. If it was, you already would be there. And for most people, they don't know how to create this renewal. And when they are being taught how to do it, they don't trust themselves, they don't trust the process. They fear letting go the old and familiar patterns. Because I know that, because I used to do that also. And when it's time for me to letting go some familiar old pattern, I really believe to be true in my life in the past. It scares me. It scares me to death, and I struggle to let them go. But the truth of the matter is this, right? The victory of this is this, that the victory of establishing this new pattern is not the achievement of some goal or physical dimension of our lives, but the real achievement comes, when we learn and understand and discern what is the will of God. Some people call it infinite intelligence in our lives, and what is the highest good that is acceptable and perfect. You see, the win is not getting something. The win is knowing the wisdom. The win is having the wisdom to know what God's voice is in our life above all other voices. It is to learn how to co-create with God according to his laws, according to his principles, according to his values, to create new pattern of thought from higher level of awareness that allows us to kind of manifest our highest good for the rest of our lives. And this allows us to live a life that we designed rather than a life that we live by default. Have you ever asked yourself where you get your ideas from? And yes, I actually mean ideas. I don't mean thoughts. That's quite different. Thinking is the process we are engaging. I just mean ideas. You see, all ideas are inspired by only our creator, nothing else. Each time we discard ideas that are auto-suggested in our minds, we lose. We lose success. We postpone the day of our victory. You see, ideas are like playing cards. God auto-suggests ideas in our mind so that we can kind of throw whatever cards life has dealt us into the center of the table and pick new set of cards. It gives us the opportunity to deal a new set of hands in life, a totally new different set of hands in life. If you like, go to church, go to mosque, go to wherever you want to go, pray for money, pray for success, pray for fame, pray for fortune, and any material thing you want till tomorrow. God will only reply with an idea. He will only reply by planting a seed in your mind, or plant that seed in the mind of someone else that will help you. So ideas like as simple as read your books, start a business, learn new skills, call a friend, ask for help, or help someone. Those are the kind of ideas that will come, as simple as it might be. I can't tell you the number of times where people will tell me one thing that they wish for and then behave in a completely different way. In other words, our thinking, our behavior, our habits, our beliefs must be congruent with the pattern of the lives that we want for us to get our imagined future. And for you, for your behavior and your thinking to be congruent with this pattern, there are some things you need to know, and there are some things there are some requirements to it. I call them 4 requirements, but let's look at these 4 requirements quickly. Here's the 4 requirements that you need to look at when you are trying to make sure that your behavior, your habits, your belief are congruent with not just the pattern of your life right now, but how you want it to be in the future. Number 1 is it requires that you come from an abundant and prosperity conscious mindset. I have always understand and believe in having an abundance mindset. And I never knew having an abundance mindset was never enough. You know, growing up, I understood that there was abundance of resources in Nigeria, that there was abundance of resources because I saw other people have abundance. And when I didn't even have them, I can see that other people have abundance. So I certainly knew that there was abundance. But what I was actually lacking was the second half of that, which was prosperity consciousness. Yes, prosperity consciousness. You see, the difference is in abundance, we can see all the opportunities for other people. We can see riches for other people. But in prosperity consciousness, it says, and for me too. It is an internal personalization of an awareness that says, I am not separate from this abundance, that there are abundance of riches in the world, in Nigeria, and I will get mine too. A lot of us, for instance, believe that there is abundance of wealth in Nigeria. But until you start seeing the prosperity in Nigeria for yourself, you won't do anything meaningful to be rich or successful. Same thing goes for those listening to me from other countries. The reason why people are successful when they go to other countries is because they stop seeing the abundance in that land. They also see the prosperity in that land, that yes, there is abundance in this land that I have come. And for me too. That is when changing environment actually makes some people start seeing prosperity in that environment and in themselves. The second requirement is that we need to expand our awareness of what is possible. And we need to do that by challenging the agreements we have with what we claim is possible. So we have to expand our awareness of what is possible and then also challenge any agreement we have made with what we think is impossible. Let me give you an example, for instance. Some of you know me with Maths for Life Foundation. We started Maths for Life in about 2016. And part of the things we do that we started with was maths competition for secondary school students. And the first one was held in Alimosho local government, a local government in Lagos in 2017. And it was a success. And after the event of that same day, I asked my executives that, how did the event go? And they all chorused, oh, it was successful, and they are very happy how it turned out being our first event, blah, 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 and all that. So I asked them that, what if we extend this to the whole of Lagos next year? And they said, no, let us wait a little. That will be too much. Let's try again and make sure that we have a good handle on this and do it once more or twice before expanding. But guess what? Because I knew that I need to challenge my awareness of what is possible and impossible, I insisted we expand. Today, we have successfully expanded year on year from just a local government in Alimosho in 2017 to cover Lagos in 2018, to cover Nigeria in 2019, Africa in 2020, and currently, by God's grace, we went global for 2021. Despite COVID, we couldn't hold a physical competition, but next week, we are holding the finals of the Global Open Mathematics Tournament with participants from over 29 countries in the qualifying stage. And by God's grace, I'm sure the next edition will be not less than 60 countries. So that is one of the things that I apply in my own direct life to know the difference between what is possible and what is impossible, and be able to move boundaries and move my life forward. The third requirement is, it kind of requires that, you have the image of what it is that you want. It requires that you develop the mental image of yourself. And the thinking is that we think in pictures, but you might not realize that before now. Think of the home where you live in. Think of your car. Think of the workplace. When you think of your car, you don't see CAR in front of you. You don't see HOME. You actually see a picture of your car, or of your home, or even of your future car or your future home. So you can do you can recollect a memory of your future. That's not a slip of tongue. A memory of your future. There is an exercise that can do with you, that can help you have a memory of your future. The same way you will go into someone will invite you for a party, and you'll be thinking that, oh, this party that is coming up in 3 months' time, this is the kind of food I want to serve, or this is kind of clothes I want to wear, this kind of shoe, this is the color of the bag I want to wear, and before you know it, you create that model, you create that shoe, you create that dress, you create that food for the party, and everything goes well. That is exactly what I mean by having a memory of your future. A lot of us, we do it on, sorry to say, useless things, like thinking about party, but we never use it in our life of thinking of our future, or your business or success we want to have in future. As it applies to just flimsy things as party, yes, it applies to our success too. The fourth requirement is that it requires that you recognize that your life is happening through you and not to you. When I heard that, I didn't really understand it the first time. You should know that you are a creative being. You were made in the image of the creator. All you and I, all we do is create. All we do is receive energetic signals, and all we do is broadcast the vibration of our thoughts and being. That's all we do. It's a creative process. As spiritual being, all you and I do, all we do is seek fuller expression and fuller expansion. I mentioned earlier that we grew an aspect of Maths for Life, the secondary school competition, from local level to global in space of 3 to 4 years. But that's in the past. Now I want more. I want to do, and have more than that. Yes. You see, I have often said that the state of awareness of any human being that is alive is that we are always to be grateful, but never satisfied. As spiritual beings, if you're a singer, you want to sing louder. If you're a jumper, you want to jump higher. If you're a runner, you want to run faster and further. It's not greed, as long as you are grateful for what you have, but as human being, you will never ever be satisfied, because that's who we are on this earth. That's the spiritual essence of who we are. That's why we are always scaling, and that's why I love the quote from Nelson Mandela that says, "There is no passion to be found in playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." There's no passion in it at all. And I know that we have all at different times have different parts of us being enslaved. We have patterns of thought and behavior that we keep that doesn't serve us. And we know we want to create a new life. We want to create a new goal. But we have ways of being that we have done in the past that has kept us from being our old self, that has debarred us from making a transformation in our life, that we have made countless New Year resolutions and none of them ever work. But today, I'm going to join you. I'm going to join us today and give us steps that we can use to propel ourselves for that, not just in 2021, but also beyond, to transform our lives, provided we are going to use it. So my promise to you is, in this training today, I'll show you how I've done this, and I'll show you how I've showed hundreds of others how to do it as well. And what is left after that is a life that is filled with predictable results based on what you would love to create, a life that is a whole lot less complicated, a future that is manifested by design rather than by default. And in a lot of cases, when you follow these steps, you will know that the only element remaining is just the concept of time. With time, you will get there. Now, Having said that, ask yourself where you stand right now. Ask yourself where I stand right now. When I start to walk towards my goal, is my thinking congruent with my future? At the place of my departure point, that is where am I today? Are they incongruent with what I want in future? What competing commitments do I have in my behavior? What competing commitments do I have in my habits? What competing commitments do I have in the belief that conflict with my arrival point that I claim I want to reach? Your arrival point is just one thing you want to do in future, but today you have several departure points that you need to overcome. Some of us might have school, family, work, friends, are several departure points, but trying to arrive at a particular goal in future. This is what I believe is that, based on our understanding, on my experience up till now, and what I believe based on truth, that we seek to explore and discover the highest truth in our life. As human beings, we keep seeking, we keep looking for the truth. That is why we are insatiable. We keep looking. That is why we are on this call today. We keep looking for the next best thing, for the next big thing. And a lot of times we don't see it. But we need to change our thinking. And this type of thinking is made possible by using our intellectual faculties. And just as the same reason we have physical senses, that you have the ability to hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. These are not the things that actually make you achieve your goals or make you rich, not your physical senses. They are your intellectual senses, your 6 intellectual senses, your intellectual faculties, which are your will, your reason, your memory, your intuition, your perception, and your imagination. And this is why you can see a successful blind man, a successful deaf person, and a successful lame man. You have the powers right within you. It's within your spirit. It's not what your eyes can see, not your physical senses that makes you achieve your goals. They are there. You use them. I agree. But you have these resources within you of your intellectual faculties. So what we do is we take next action. We use them to take an action in the direction of our dream, and that lands us right at the doorstep of our next departure point, and we keep moving on. That is how you use your intellectual faculty. That's the journey. We become aware of a particular belief that do not serve us again, and are in part of our universal truth, and we challenge this boundary that hold us back, and we move on. I like the way Henry David Thoreau puts this. He says, if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in uncommon hours. In other words, don't say you want to be a millionaire and go to club to party every Friday and sleep all weekend. Don't say you want to be an entrepreneur and sit in front of Netflix or DSTV after your 9 to 5. It will not happen. It will not happen. So there are 13 major steps I do teach that could help us get ahead in life. But I'm just going to use the next 20 minutes or thereabout, introduce just 2 of it. Because due to time constraints, of course, we cannot cover everything. And we need to lay the ground, which I've been laying all this while, to change your belief system, to change your facts to truth. And by the way, I have a training coming up on March 6, where I will share the remaining 11. So you can contact me afterwards if you are interested. The first step I'm going to talk about is persistence. If you look at the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says, persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent. What is he talking about when he's talking about transmuting? He says, we are broadcasting out, having a vibrational frequency of what our desire is. And persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of this transmutation. Think about it. If you are to send a message, if you are to transmit a message, what are you doing? You are sending a message of your desire. That is your dream that is not yet manifested in physical form. Your dream at an intellectual vibrational frequency. So it starts from the mind of God. That is the frequency in the mind of God. You become aware of this idea in your own mind. It moves from the mind of God at a higher frequency. It moves into your own conscious awareness. You form out a desire from it. And now, in order for you to take this intellectual seed of your desire and manifest it and transmit it into something you can see physically, right? You need to be persistent in doing that for you to be able to get a monetary equivalent or be able to achieve that goal of physical form of whatever you need. I said it earlier that if you have never given it a thought before now, listen, all ideas are divine. I'm not talking about thinking. That's totally on another level. That is why you see the symbol of idea as a bright light bulb, something that just hits you suddenly. Ideas are like perpetual transmutation of radiant energy. Energy always flows from a higher source of origination to a lower source. So ideas flows from God and is planted right there in you. I've got a lamp right there in front of me. There is electricity in there flowing into that lamp, illuminating the bulb. The source of that lamp is plugged maybe at a lower expression, yeah? But this originating source might be a power plant or an hydropower plant somewhere far away. But it starts from that plant and goes through different transformers and transponders till it gets here. The same thing ideas are like. So energy always starts from a higher source of origination and it comes to our mind. And the moment God transformed these ideas into our lives, persistence is an essential factor in the procedure for us to be able to transform this idea and broadcast it into the whole universe so that it can match what we want to do. The spirit always manifests itself in a polar opposite, and this polar opposite of spiritual is always physical. Whenever anyone, I repeat, whenever anyone has a physical problem, there is always a spiritual aspect of it. And I don't, by spiritual, I don't mean pastor or churches or mosque or whatever. No. I mean, there is an underlying condition that you cannot see. So when you are in a place of want or lack, it is always because you have, listen to me, you have consistently ignored the ideas that God has placed in you. You have consistently ignored the ideas. It never leaves us open without giving us the next step of what to do. It will give you an idea so that you can go as far as you can go. By the time you get to that end of the road, another one will pop up and you keep moving. So how do you develop persistence and how can we stay in that frequency? One of the things that we encourage you to do is, if you can get the book Think and Grow Rich, read the chapter on persistence. I've done this exercise with a lot of people for 14 days. Try and read it for 14 days persistently. So when you read it once every 14 days, it will give you a sense of fulfillment that you are able to do something persistently for 14 days. But here's the catch. That's not just all. You see, the days that you are unable to read that book, I repeat, the days that you are not able to read that book, whatever debar you from reading that book that day are the exact thing that are debarring you from getting ahead in life. For some people, it's just sleep. I want to sleep small. For some people, it's social media. For some, it might be friends, it might be family, it might be idle talk. But if you go through this exercise, what it will show you is that the same thing that disturbs you from reading a book, a chapter of this book consistently for 14 days, are the same reason you should watch out for in your life. They are the same reason why you are not where you are supposed to be today. They are the same reason why you have been procrastinating some of your success. That's about it on persistence. But now that I've asked you to read the chapter every day for 14 days, the next step is for you to bring your ideas, your thoughts, your goal for 2021 into life in just 6 simple steps. And I'll quickly go through this 6 steps. The first step is that, first, be definite to what you want in life in 2021. It might be money, it might be goal, whatever it is. But for me, I would just choose money because everybody kind of relate with money easily. So be definite about the specific dream you want. And there is a psychological reason to this. The psychological reason for that is that you don't quit, so that you don't get halfway there or almost there and quit. Let me just tell you this. There is also a lawful reason why you do this. It's because you want to be definite about it, because it kind of like when you are driving on the road in a old car and you have to tune, you know, old cars have stereo that you tune. They are not the latest version where you just flip or something. So if it's like you are trying to tune into a radio station when you are driving, if you weren't specific about nailing the exact station, what happens? You start getting static. You not hear the talk. You not hear the voice come very well on the radio. The same thing that happens to you when you are not sure of exactly what you want for yourself. You'll be going, is it here? Is it there? So you need to put it and write it exactly what you need. So let me help you do this. And here's what in my lessons of goal setting and goal achieving, I've always tell people that goal setting is an intellectual process. It's a skill that has to be learned, and goal achievement occurs through that process, and you have to just learn it all the way. Okay, so let's look at it this way. In setting your goals, how do you go about it? I remember the quote from Lesra. He said, most people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss, but it's because they aim too low and eat. I know that, but I also know that most people fail in goal setting because they claim they want more, and settling for less is what they do. A lot of us want to be a millionaire, if not billionaire, successful at a particular sport, career, or hobby. For some of us, it's just as wanting to lose weight or pass professional exams. Whatever your dream is, you need to put that down as a goal. Write it down. But in order to go from where you are today, perhaps to making 100 million of your own annually, there are all kinds of other benchmark in between. There is 2 million, there is 5 million, there is 10 million, there is 20, there is 50. So this is what I realized, that before one can go from making 10 million to 100 million, why don't you set a goal to make 20 million or 50 million before 100 million? Before you go from a size 18 to a size 10, how about losing weight to a size 14, then size 12? Because what I really know is that when we write our goals, whether monetary goal or whatever we want to achieve in life, what we really want for ourselves is we just want to do this. All we just want is a sign of fresh air, that we want to think about that goal that we have set for ourselves. And when we think about that goal and we think of achieving it, we want to be able to say, if I can achieve this, I should be able to do this. So for some of us, that fresh of bed here by the end of 2021 is actually buying a G-Wagon or having 100 million accounts. For some people on this call, it's just as easy as not taking a bike again, but being able to afford money for Uber. For some, it's just about not taking Uber again and being able to afford a 2010 Camry. For some, it's just about being able to pass a professional exam or being able to get or being able to. So make sure that you really, step number one here, be definite to the amount of thing you want. Be definite. Do you really want $1 million? Whatever it is, be definite about it. The next step is, what will you give? What will you give so this goal of yours, what will you give to this amount you want? What would you actually give? So somebody asked me that, can I have goals in every area of my life? Someone has asked me once, of course you can have more than one goals, but just let's go through these 6 steps first. And if you have more questions I can take, right? But you need to take it in steps, in pieces. So secondly is that you need to determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money or for whatever the goal that you desire. Because there is no such reality as something for nothing. That is complete gambling. So you need to determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. And so here is what I did when I started first on this. I was like, oh, I will give up watching TV. I will give up maybe eating too much and all that. That is not giving. That is trading. And people get it wrong. When I say determine exactly what you're going to give, how about giving your best? How about giving your full focus? How about giving your attention? How about giving your passion? How about giving your desire? How about giving your patience? How about giving your love? How about giving your energy? How about giving your time? Because when you trade, all you just do is leave one bad habit and go into another bad habit. So determine what exactly you want to give. Thirdly is that you need to establish a definite date when you intend to possess that money. Because the reason is that you need to be definite so that you don't leak and it becomes a sense, you create a sense of urgency in your in that goal. The fourth thing you need to do is you need to create a definite plan of carrying out your desire, and you begin at once. Whatever idea comes to your mind to begin with that first. Again, I'm just trying to compress everything between 15 minutes, but I can take more questions if some things are not clear to you. But you need to begin at once so that way the universe will respond to your speed the same way you are responding to your own speed. I'm sure you have seen a lot of times where you are thinking of someone and the person just call you or send you a text message. That is just universe responding with speed to your own desire also. Then the fifth step is take your first, second, third, and fourth step, write them out completely and put it in a concise statement. And lastly, read it out to yourself daily, in the morning and at night. You see, when you do this, when you read it out, it helps you to connect your physical self to your spiritual self. It connects your conscious mind to your unconscious mind in such a way that from that moment on, when you do it 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, all the things around you that are there to make your success happen, to make you achieve your goal, to make you have the level of money or achievement you want, they start connecting. And I'm sure you have seen this in simple pieces. Have you ever had the desire? Now let's talk a little bit about desire, how desire, the second step, ties to this. Have you ever had the desire of maybe buying a car, for instance, and you say you want to buy, let's say, a Toyota Prado, or let's say a Toyota Camry, a particular color. From that point in time, you will start seeing that color of that car. Or you say you want to go to school for masters. It's that time that you now see that a lot of your friends have gone to school for masters. Anything you now start desiring in your heart, that is where you now start seeing a lot of them around you. That is how the world works. They have always been there, but desire is that one aspect that connects your conscious mind to your conscious mind through persistence. So you reading it every day, morning and night, forms a desire within you and connects both together. And when I talk about desire, there is a little bit of difference between just desire and want. And I will close with that. A good analog I give people is everyone, when we were in school, I'm sure everyone on this call are probably in school or have graduated at some point in time. Look at it this way. Every one of us actually wanted a first class. But what we actually desire, every one of us, is to graduate. Because we will do everything to graduate, but will not do everything to have a first class. There are two different things. When you desire something, you do everything you need to do. But when you want something, you do minimum. Some of you might have been in love before, which it might even be the type of love you have with your parents or your family, or type of love you have with your spouses. When you are in love with someone, how does it come out? You see that the desire is totally different from just one thing. And that is why you will see boys and girls, male and female, go to the world's end. If you can use that same energy you put in chasing them, in chasing that opposite gender into your business or into your goals, that same power of desire, transmute that sexual energy, you will see that your goals become different, because everybody in and around you, when they see you, they know exactly what you want in life and they will bring it to your doorstep. That is what desire does for you. There is nobody that will see me that will not know that I desire Maths for Life. There is nobody that will see me that will not know that I desire SPD. There is nobody that will see me or knows me that does not know that I desire speaking and impacting life and volunteering. So your name will come up whenever all those things that you desire comes up. Right. I promise to stop at the 12-hour mark so that we can have time for questions, because it's not just enough talking and talking. So I'm really glad that you're able to join this session today. Again, there's lots to say, but because of time, I would like to stop here. I hope you have enjoyed this teaching today. I didn't mean to be a little in your face, but I'm passionate about this. You have got to transcend your want to desire. I believe in you, and I believe in your dream. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Temitope. That was a very interesting webinar. So just to progress to the Q&A session, we'll be taking questions in the chat section. So would you have any questions? Please just type it directly in the chat section and then it will be answered. But we already have a few questions that came in earlier with the registration, and we'll take that. We're just highlighting some of the major things which you spoke about for benefit of everyone that has been in the call. I know you started with talking about the fact that, wherever we are going to would demand a better version of ourselves. And you also asked some important questions, whether our thinking was agreeing with the future that we see, if there are any competing commitments in our behavior, thinking pattern, habits. And then you also talked about the need for persistence, letting us know that whatever can stop us from even persistently reading the particular section in a book for 14 days can also stop us from achieving any other goal. You outlined 6 steps: being definite with what we want, what we would give to get what we want, establishing a definite date to achieve that, creating a definite plan and then beginning at once, and then putting all of this into a concise statement, and then reading it daily, morning and night. So with that, I wouldn't want to belabor all that you have said. We will now be taking the questions that we have. So Satope, one of the major concerns some of our registrants gave, just because of COVID, a lot of persons lost their jobs, and some are just looking to get jobs, at least to be able to fend for themselves and for their families. So how does these steps which you have outlined, how does it help them? Can you share some practical tips? You're mute.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Princess. Again, you see, for me, this is how this works. We all know, no exception, including you and I. So my body has been affected one way or the other with COVID. We might not be out of jobs, but we're out of some things. And I'll use my mine as an example. I do this training for free, mostly for SPE and some individuals that are in my circle that I train. But apart from that, any other time I do it for the money people pay me and all that. Before COVID, I was training I have lots of clients in terms of companies that I train. But guess what? COVID came, boom. What they went from It went from 100 to 0 in a split of a second. And that source of income, that line of income went to 0. Same thing with my wife's business. She's into traveling and tourism, right? That went from 100 to 0. But what am I trying to tell you? What did I do differently? Is following my ideas. Just following my ideas. Because God will not leave you open when things go wrong. It will always suggest something into your mind. The next thing you need to do is to follow those 13 steps, follow these 13 steps to make it come to reality. And one of the first thing I do tell people is persistence. Be persistent in making that idea come to reality. So the first thing that came to me, I was even telling my wife about it this morning, right, is I was like, okay, the idea came to me that, okay, why don't you start doing online training, do it free and do it every month? I'm like, okay, free every month. Where would the money come from? Just start first. Before you know, I started training. I can bet you that the amount of audience and the money I've had from that, you have no idea what that has made, what that has changed. You know why? A lot of people on the line, in fact, people hearing me today on this line, they never knew before COVID that I do this professionally. Not during COVID, I started persistently, had a monthly mentoring series. I've had between now and March last year, when COVID started, I'm sure I've had nothing less than 4 or maybe 7 sessions with SP. When I say SP, not SP Lagos, SP in general. I've had nothing less than at least 40 to 50 sessions in a year of training, different topics, different audience. That said, those sessions, I wouldn't have had it if not for COVID. Before COVID, I had 0 online audience. But right now, I have over 300 online audience, some of them that are paying audience. What am I trying to say is that whenever anything happens to you, good or bad, the idea will always come. But the problem is that we tell ourselves that the idea will not work and we start looking for something else. So when you lose your job, when anything happens to you, good or bad, what is the idea that comes to your mind? Follow it up first with persistence. Write it down. Mix it up with your desire. And there are a whole lot of other things that we can now do to follow that up. That's it for now, Princess.
Thank you. So we have a very specific question here. This person has just accepted an offer as a reservoir engineer with Exxon and would like to get your insights, being an experienced reservoir engineer, also with Exxon. What suggestions you have to get ahead of the peers?
Yes. Okay, so this is one of the things I tell people. I had a session with Port Harcourt session about that should be about 2 months ago, on something about career and all that. And this is my simple answer to them. When you're trying to get ahead in career and you get a job, 3 things you can always do. Number 1, decide to show up early at work or close late. So if your job is 9 to 5, let people know that you are available outside of that 9 to 5, maybe earlier or much later. That will help you in a lot of ways. You being available to your boss, to your work, make it easier for people to rate you better. That's number 1. So whatever works for you. Some people are early birds, some people are late night callers. For me, for instance, thank God you're in Exxon, like you mentioned. At work, everybody knows me. I hardly resume 8 o'clock. When we are in office physically, my resumption time is like 9:30, 10. But they know that Topper will be in the office till maybe 10 p.m. Now that we are home, I hardly resume before 10 also, except I have meetings. But they know that Topper will be online at night and will get the job done. That is one thing you need to do, availability. The second thing is that whatever you are assigned to, which is your basic, make sure you do it. Make sure you do this, the basic that you are assigned to do. And your bosses will always tell you that. But one last thing, which is the third thing that makes a total difference, is that always let boss know that you have room for more and you have capacity to do more. And do this not only with your boss, even with your mentor outside of the oil and gas or outside of your workplace. Always go back to them. You said I should do A, B, C, D. Okay, I have done A, B, C. I will soon finish D, or I have finished D. What do you have? Do you have any other thing I can help with? Everybody have problems. Even your boss, they want you to help them with something. So 3 easy steps. Number 1, availability. Again, this question of availability, I kind of stress it. People know me with SPE in Exxon, and I have none for once in my life. I repeat, one in my almost 12 years of service in SPE and ExxonMobil as professionals. Have I had my rating questions or my word question based on what I do with SPE? And that is because people know that even if I go to technical meeting during lunch, if I go elsewhere because of SPE, I will always be available at any time, at odd hours, to answer anything that has to do with ExxonMobil. So your availability is key as an engineer, even in Exxon. The second to you. And lastly, always ask your direct supervisor, I have done this or I'm almost done. What else can I help you with? What else can I do? At the end of the day, that last steps will make you totally different from every other person that just did their job and didn't step out. And this does not apply to just Exxon engineers. It applies to anybody, anywhere in the world, even if you're in SPE. I'm sure Fayama and Michael hearing me online, they will talk to most people or most volunteers. They know that they are always available to serve SPE Lagos. They will not go and call someone that doesn't show sign of being available to them. And they will always respond better and easily to someone that they give a job and the person does it well. And trust me, Fayama and Michael will be overly happy if someone can come back to them and say, boss, sis, I'm almost done with this job. Do you have more I can help with? I am sure the next time any opportunity comes in SPE, that's the first person their mind will come to. So it's not just in your professional life, in other aspects of your life also work. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Tokwe. So 3 things you mentioned: availability, do what you are assigned to do, and let your whoever has direct oversight over you know that you have capacity to do more. And a caveat here, Mr. Tokwe may not be at entry level with some persons on this course, so maybe the flexibility we work may not apply. Well, just take the 3 steps as it applies to you. And so we also have questions that have to do with being persistent or consistent. Some of the participants have asked, how do they follow through with goals? How can they focus on the goals and sustain the right perception?
Thank you. So, you see, leadership and personal development, and even almost anything in life, is not a one-off. So when people think they will attend one training or attend one goal setting session and that is all, they are done for the year. No, it doesn't work that way. It has to be continuity. It has to be continuous improvement. I spoke earlier that this has 13 steps, but the little that they've learned today, they should start with it. Persistence is key. Desire is another key factor. Part of it is faith, right? There is a way you can use your faith to achieve your goal, to sustain your goal. And I do that a lot. And one thing I tell people about faith they don't know is that faith, like a lot of words that people mix up, is a neutral word. What do I mean by a neutral word? It is not, faith is not positive. You know, there are positive words, there are negative words. Faith is not a positive word, but people think it's a positive word. In other words, you can have faith in your failure. You can have faith that you will not be successful. You can have faith that you will get to work late tomorrow. You can have faith that this thing that you are working on will not come out right. You can have faith that you won't be able to get the money to that particular project. You can have that something you are working on will fail. You can have faith in bad ways. The same way you can have faith in good ways. So faith is one of the ways to sustain your goal. Have the faith, the expectancy that this thing that I'm doing will work. It gives you a new level of energy and desire, and it has a way of controlling your unconscious mind. I've seen people that come to meetings, and if you ask them, they say that they are always late. Why? They have faith. I have a boss that always tell me that he always more or less misses his flight, and he has that faith. And guess what? The next time he's still going to miss his flight. It's all about faith. Faith is not having faith in good things or faith that you will succeed. You can actually have faith that other things that can also help you. I'll just go through a list of them. It's part of the 13 process. You see, what I tell people is that a way decision helps us in our goal is that at times, or most of the times rather, our decisions are usually not the problem. The problems are the delayed decision. A good example is the United States, for instance, today. Whether Trump continued as president or Biden continued as president or came in as president, it's all decision. Either way, US will survive, US will continue. But if they had delayed that decision and they didn't make a decision and left it open, there will be chaos. So is that something that happens in our lives? When we delay decision, pick your battle, pick your poison, move on. A lot of time, the problem is delay. The training we have today, we could have decided not to have it. It's part of decision. And move on with something else, and we'll still be fine. So always decide on time and stick with your decision. Another thing is imagination, knowledge, auto-suggestion. I don't want to go into details, but these are things that, if possible, like I said earlier, you can contact me. I have a session coming up on March 6th, that's a full day program that will discuss this more, right? Mastermind, sex transmutation, a lot of these 13 steps that you can actually help you to focus on your goal. But the little you know today, which is persistent and desire, try as much as possible to start applying it in your life. Thanks, Princess. Next.
Thank you, Tokwe. Okay. So we have a question here that says, how do you get buy-in from people that matter in supporting your ideas and solutions to drive growth within the organization?
Okay, within the organization. Okay, so whether the organization is a non-for-profit or for-profit, like our daily work we do. In fact, I tell people, and I said it in this training, that it's even easier with profit organization than for non-profit organizations. Everything starts with you. People are looking at you. And I'll bring in a concept of leadership on this one. When people see you, let people see that what you are trying to do is not for your own good, but for the benefit and greater good of the organization. That way, people see that you are selfless and they are willing to listen to you. Again, when your peers or your mates brings such ideas, or they are trying to make progress or do something, how do you look at their own ideas? Do you support it or you step it down? Do you collaborate with them? Because no person, no matter how good you are, can become successful all by himself. There's nobody like self-made. When I hear people say self-made authors, self-made millionaires, self-made that, no, it doesn't happen. At least someone can clean your office by yourself if you are self-made. So one of the things you need to do is to make sure you collaborate with people when they have their own ideas, when they have their own goals. Let people see that you are there and you are willing to help others. Let people see that you are not bringing up ideas or you're not bringing up suggestions in your organization based on what you want to get from it or just because you want to get ahead, but it's for the collective good. And overall, your attitude matters. People have one particular attitude, people that can support them, and have another attitude with people that they don't have anything to gain from. What do I mean by this? You have seen it in your places of work, sometimes in SPE, people respecting only people that know that can give them something or they can gain something from. And they look at every other person and they trash them down. Believe it or not, someday, somewhere, it's going to catch up with you. Whatever you give out, you are going to accept later. Thanks, Princess.
Thank you. So we would wrap up the Q&A session with one final question. There are still other questions, but we can take it beyond here. A participant asked, outside of behavioral changes, what other activities or things can one do to get ahead?
Outside of behavioral changes, trust me, for me, there are three places of existence that we have. This physical, right? We have this. We exist on this physical plane, on a spiritual plane, and on intellectual plane, right? We've discussed physical and intellectual plane to an extent today, and your physical plane is actually your desire. It's actually your behavior, right? But one of that thing that you cannot remove from the equation is also the spiritual plane. Whatever your faith is, whatever your religion is, for me, it works for me. Especially when I've done everything I can do. I'm like, I'm done. I've tried. God, do the rest. So apart from the physical, behavioral things that you can do, put your trust in God. Whatever that means to you. For me, it means Almighty God. Like I said earlier, the author and finisher of our faith. So put your trust in your faith, because we all know that there is someone that created us. We didn't create ourselves. There is something that woke us up this morning. We didn't wake up ourselves. And there is something that has taken that. So it's beyond just physical in this world. So when I've done everything that I can do, that is my next solace. And sometimes it even come before. So make sure you do that. If it's going to make a lot of difference. But again, remember one thing. Even people that don't pray or go to mosque or church, all those goals that you are trying to achieve, they have surpassed it. So what that means is that you have a lot to do, because all you needed, he has always provided. So you have a lot to do in terms of behavior and the physical to make your goal manifest. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that insightful session. There are still more questions, but we would advise that you send us, for follow-up, you can send us an email to spelagos@gmail.com. And then some of the questions we received earlier have been treated while the webinar was going on. And then we have questions that have to do with finance, and gladly we have an upcoming event on that, which we'll get more information on. So moving on to the upcoming events that we have with SPE Lagos section. We kickstarted this year with a webinar tagged How to Build Resilience and Leadership at Work. And that information is available both on our social media handles, especially our YouTube page. So you can rewatch that webinar. We have a training that is coming up this week from the 25th to the 29th. And that training is on advanced reservoir simulation, which will be taken by Limi Obidi. That training has already, the registration has already been closed. And so all the registered participants will be a part of that training. We also have a webinar tagged 360-degree personal finance in times like this. We know that the pandemic has exposed the financial positions of many individuals and organizations. And it's very important that we learn the principles, the processes, the planning and decisions that are necessary to ensure that we safeguard ourselves from future occurrence of financial shocks and the destabilizing effect. So we have that webinar planned for Wednesday, January 27th at 11:30 a.m. West African time. And we ask that you participate in that section. The joining link is showing on your screen. We would also have this information up on our various social media handles and also send it to our email broadcast list. Following that webinar, we have a vision board event planned for February 6, 2021. One of the very important things that was said in today's webinar is that we must be definite about what we want. And that is what that vision board will help us to put whatever it is that we desire for 2021, also in very relatable terms in form of pictures and things that serve as a vision for us, which will also compel us to take the right steps throughout this year. So we have that vision board event coming up. It will be online and it will only be open to those who register. So we would ask that you look forward to the information when shared. We have a webinar planned for February 13th, which will also enable us to meet our head goals for 2021. It's important that we have our beings in good health condition to support all our many aspirations for this year. So let us make ourselves available for that webinar so that we can meet our goals in good physical, mental, and emotional health. Now, you can find SP Lagos section on various social media handles. We are active on LinkedIn, we're active on Twitter, we're active on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And a number of events which we have held in the past, you can find the replay links on YouTube. So please visit our social media handles so that you can be informed of both past and upcoming events. For any information on becoming a member or renewing your membership, feel free to contact any of the persons who you can see on the screen, or Chimere or Stella. For follow-ups, you can send an email directly to splagos@gmail.com, and then we would follow up with you to know about the many membership benefits. You can also visit the site that is showing on the screen. So from SP Lagos section, on behalf of the section chair and the entire team, we want to appreciate you for taking our time today, Saturday, to be a part of this webinar, getting ahead and beyond getting ahead in 2021 and beyond. We also appreciate our facilitator, Temitope Oshuti, for spending this time with us and sharing all the steps and ideas to propel us forward. We ask that you stay tuned, you stay connected, look out for future events, and have a most pleasant year. So thank you very much, everyone. We will now end this session.